Okay, here we are with the Dynatech SC6000 slot cutter. For function, we'll do slots or recessed cuts. We'll do the plunge cut for raised pavement marker castings. We'll do the inlay pavement markings, and we'll also do line removal. I'd like to go over some of the features here with Tom.
Some of the features, we have the actuated head unit for recipes. We have the ability to be able to switch the head unit directly from one side to the other. We have the encoder. It actually tells you your distance point from one cut to the other so that you get that accurate 60, 80, 40 cut that you may be requiring. You may want to go 26 feet in between each marker. It gives you that option to be able to do that directly to your LODAR unit and to your iPad.
So you could literally program it to make any cut. It'll taper for a half mile if you want it to.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And we can plunge cut anywhere on the unit using your stack light system and the cutter.
These stack lights here with the red, yellow, and green tell you when it's time to start your cycle.
Yes.
When you're getting close to it, and when to stop and make your cuts.
Yes, yes, yes. Everything is designed so that the operator that's sitting in the skid steer literally will just run with the LODAR unit first and be able to just watch these lights and be able to do everything for his cut.
So once this iPad's programmed to whatever recipe profile that they want to make, this can actually just stay in the supervisor's truck.
Yeah,
and the
awesome.
operator has the remote.
Yeah, what's awesome is that you can carry 7 recipes, being able to do 7 different types of cuts. You can hold one for inlay, you can hold one for all your basic anywhere cuts. You can do 6 different, an 80, a 40, a 60, whatever you want, and have the same depth, but maybe you want to cut out a little bit sooner or something on a marker. That's what those are for.
Okay, Tom, what's the first thing the customer would want to do with their slot cutter when they receive it in?
When you first receive your slot cutter, basically with shipping, you're going to want to make sure that all your hoses are set. There's nothing missing. Make sure all your hoses are connected. Now, if you're already got it on your skid steer, which is even better, we could actually make sure that all these things are just connected, make sure all that stuff's going. And then what we're going to want to do is make sure that we have a circuit breaker that we ship with it and an extra connector that goes here on this connection point. So you're going to want to wire that here to that connection point up and around, and probably put that circuit breaker somewhere on the back side of the skid steer. That circuit breaker is going to keep your battery over at this site charged, as well as it's going to keep power going back to that battery all the time to keep it charged. If for some reason you don't hook this up, there's a good chance that you're going to lose power at that point somewhere. Your recipes start acting up, the machine starts acting up, and you lose out on a lot of downtime trying to fix it. So that's why we ship it with a disconnect. We ship it with the hub connector here, so you guys should be able to hook that up pretty easily.
Is that the battery isolator? Or
now the battery isolator itself, to keep this battery protected, is actually located directly with the battery inside of this unit. So once the disconnect is installed, you've got your wires connected to here. Then what you have is your battery isolator here protecting this battery at the unit. And this is pretty much your entire battery assembly. If you need to change out your battery, this is where you do it. Your isolator here, indicator lights on the top. Basically the entire package all in one place. That way you don't have to move stuff around. The only thing you really have to worry about is that disconnect.
Awesome. We've got a self-leveling head on here with the wheels that level this way, and then the back of the carriage there also levels itself side to side. So gives you that consistent depth. It's like that head mounts it on either side, right? Mm-hmm. You could disconnect the one side and hook it up to the other side for traffic control.
Yep, everything is quick disconnects. We have quick disconnects here at the actuator unit. We have it at the main motor. We also have a direct quick disconnect at the hydraulics. Everything's interchangeable. That way it's easily being able to pick up, move over to the other side. You can literally set it on the ground, just drop it with the skid loader, move over to the other side, pick it right back up. Our actuator is here. Main motor for the actual turning of the RPMs and making the blades spin is right there. We've got the encoder unit here with the wheel. So what we do here is that once it drops, which is really cool, once this comes down, then we can actually automatically detect a distance between two cuts, so that you know whether you're doing an 80 foot or a 40 foot. Basically, once you've set that in your recipe, you can run to each cut, so you don't have to stop in between each cut, reset, and all that kind of stuff between recipe cuts.
So this communicates with the computer there, huh?
Yes. So once our awesome iPad, once we program that into the iPad unit, and the driver is in charge, he pretty much will run it with his LODAR unit here. He'll step inside, he'll get the unit up and running, get the blade spinning, he'll get into his position, he'll cycle start the unit, and it'll go down, do whatever cut profile you've actually set up and designed. And then once it's done and you're ready to go on to your 80, 40, 60, whatever you want, that wheel right there will tell you exactly where to go and how far, and tell you exactly when to stop. We have a stack light in the unit. Of course, we have a guard on the front side to protect the stack light from debris, but we have a stack light system on the back, red, yellow, green. What that should do is help you identify when to stop, when to start, and when to slow down. Okay. We also have a tachometer, so you can register your RPMs just with the wheel when it's spinning, compared to the RPMs that you actually are using inside of your skid steer.
When I move from one slot to the next, should I raise the cutting head off the pavement and not the encoder wheel?
That is correct. The encoder wheel is going to keep you on an accurate distance of your point A to point B, but the head unit, what will happen is your wheels and bearings will actually get wore out, so we want to make sure that that gets lifted up off the asphalt.
So we can keep this guy on the ground, but just pick it up enough to travel to the next.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It'll automatically be zeroed, so you're good to go on that one once you've already set zero.
Alrighty. If I were to leave the work site with the unit and then return back, how do I get the encoder wheel back to the 80-foot start position?
So there are two different ways you can do it. One is you can go from the last cut that you did, measure your 80 feet and set your point down and go. Or the other thing you can do is you can spin your wheel till you get to your 80-foot point and start your circuit, and then you just hit cycle start.
Oh. Can I do line removal and inlay with this unit?
Yes, up to 6 inches on a width.
Okay. And the difference between line removal and inlay is just your consistent depth, right? So
yes,
you
sir.
set it for whatever depth you're going
Yep, you can
for.
say, yeah, any depth you want to go on this unit, yep.
All right, Tom, so how many different recipes will this iPad hold?
Okay, so our machines will hold up to 7 recipes just on the slot cutter profiles, and then you have also 7 plunge cut recipes all in the same set. So you can save up to like practically 7 altogether, but you can switch in between the plunge anywhere cuts, and you can switch between that and the regular recipe slots. So.
Okay. And the unit will probably already come with 1 or 2 profiles, whatever the customer's putting
Yes.
in, and then we can add more.
Yep.
Do they need to program this every time they take it out for a job?
No. What's really cool is the fact that as long as the battery stays good with this, the unit itself will save your recipes right in there and keep them saved for the longevity of the machine. So you should be able to just switch in between whatever recipes you need for that day, put it in the system, load it, you're good to go.
Do you need to have the iPad with you in the cab, or can
No. Some customers request that the operator who's in the cab has also got the iPad, because he can make a roll up to the real-time change. But majority of the time, this is usually sitting in a supervisor's truck, and the guy with the LODAR unit is the only one running.
Okay. If I'm cutting a slot every 80 feet, will this unit let me know when it's time to make another cut? Is there a lighting? What's with the lighting system?
Yes. So what's awesome is that once the recipe is set up, you're actually going to be using your stack light system to run through your cycles. So once this is on the ground and laying on the ground, this thing is going to roll. As it's rolling, it's going to tell you in the recipe when you get to the point where you start. So when I do a cycle start, I'm going to have that green light, and it's going to tell me to stop. And then as soon as I'm ready to cut, it's going to cut in. This is going to tell you to go, because this is going forward as you're moving. And then once it's ready to stop, you do your plunge cuts or whatever other cuts you need to do, whatever the recipe that you set up is to do. Once it's done, it's going to tell you to go with the green light. Then you can take off and go to your 40 feet, however fast you want to go. And then as soon as your stopping point, what's going to happen is it's going to tell you to slow down. within a certain amount of feet, and then it's going to tell you to stop. When you stop, you're exactly over top of that another 80, 60, 40, whatever point you want to be at. And you just hit the cycle start again, and it starts your cut again.
All right, so Tom, what sounds kind of silly, but what if the operator or someone loses their iPad?
Oh, awesome feature about this, because everything is stored on the bar deck unit inside the machine, the iPad is definitely replaceable. If something happens, it gets cracked, it gets run over by a truck, anything like that, it's very easily being able to be replaced. You can actually put it on your phone or any Apple device right now. You just download the app and run it. So awesome.
Okay.
So being able to, right from the loader unit, you'll be able to jog up and down. So once you have your recipe in, pretty much all you're going to do is zero set. So you're going to jog this thing down while the blades are operating. You're going to zero set it right where it sits. It's going to go back up to the clearance position, and then you're going to be able to ready to run. You hit the cycle start, go wherever you need to, and start your punch cut, or you can just start the cycle right here to do your recipe.
Very good.
Change the head over. These bolts here will be removed. Remove these pins. This is a quick disconnect. This actually just sits in top of this groove. So once both pins are removed, you can actually roll the skid steer forward and set this down on a block of wood. Move the skid steer back, come over, grab a hold of that other head on the other side, and pick it up, put the pins back in.
In the manual, we actually carry everything from setting up the iPad, getting it talking, getting it set up, all the way to hooking up the battery connections. There's a battery connection diagram for your circuit breaker and your connector, to changing out the heads, changing out the blades. We also put in there how to set up an entire recipe. We also explain pretty much in depth every single thing that you see on each screen. It has everything in there from definitions to anything else that you might need.